If the ancient world preserved memory through myth, monument, and sacred text, then the modern world faces a different task: recollection rather than invention. Reclaiming ancient wisdom does not mean returning to antiquated beliefs or romanticizing the past. It means recovering modes of perception that once allowed humanity to live in conscious relationship with the cosmos. The wisdom of pre-dynastic Egypt and related traditions was not merely informational, it was transformational. It shaped how humans understood reality, responsibility, and their place within the greater order. One of the greatest obstacles to reclaiming ancient wisdom is the false choice between literalism and dismissal. When ancient texts are read only literally, they appear implausible or mythological. When they are read only symbolically, they are stripped of historical depth. The ancient world did not make this distinction. Myth, history, cosmology, and psychology were integrated expressions of truth. Egyptian texts, biblical narratives, and Hermetic writings operate on multiple levels simultaneously. A creation story may describe the origin of the cosmos, the birth of consciousness, the founding of civilization, and the structure of the human cycle at once. Now, to reclaim ancient wisdom requires learning to read in layers, recognizing symbolic meaning without denying historical memory, and acknowledging historical possibility without reducing everything to material fact. This approach allows ancient texts to function as maps rather than reports guides, to understanding reality rather than chronicles written for modern historiography. When read this way, myths cease to be primitive fantasies and become encoded philosophies of existence. The ancient worldview did not divide knowledge into competing domains. Astronomy was inseparable from theology. Mathematics was sacred. Medicine was spiritual. Architecture mirrored cosmic geometry. The modern separation of science and spirituality is a relatively recent development, born from the need to control, measure, and dominate nature rather than participate within it. Reclaiming ancient wisdom does not require rejecting science. It requires expanding it. Modern physics increasingly describes reality in terms of fields, vibration, probability, and observer-interaction concepts that resonate deeply with ancient cosmologies. Consciousness, once excluded from scientific inquiry, is again recognized as fundamental. Myth in this context is not falsehood but patterned truth. It expresses realities that are difficult to capture through empirical measurement alone. Ancient myths preserve insights about cycles, balance, collapse, and renewal patterns that modern civilization continues to reenact on a global scale. When science, spirituality, and myth are reintegrated, a fuller picture emerges, a universe that is ordered yet dynamic, intelligible yet mysterious, structured yet participatory. Humanity is no longer a detached observer, but an active component within a living system. Ancient wisdom consistently emphasizes balance mat in Egypt, cosmic order in Genesis, harmony in Hermetic texts. The collapse of ancient civilizations is often attributed not to divine punishment, but to imbalance, moral, ecological, and spiritual disintegration. In these traditions, humanity is not powerless. Humans are custodians of balance, responsible for aligning thought, action, and intention with cosmic order. When humanity forgets this role, disorder follows not as punishment, but as consequence. Reclaiming ancient wisdom therefore carries ethical weight. It is not merely about knowing more, but about being differently. The ancient texts repeatedly warn that knowledge without wisdom leads to destruction. This warning is especially relevant in a technological age capable of planetary-scale transformation. To restore balance does not mean reviving ancient rituals wholesale, but embodying their underlying principles: reverence for life, responsibility for knowledge, and awareness of interconnectedness. It means recognizing that civilization is not measured by power or progress alone, but by harmony between humanity, nature, and the unseen dimensions of reality. In ancient Egypt, remembrance was sacred. To remember was to sustain existence. Forgetting was a form of death. This principle extends beyond funerary rites into civilizational consciousness. To remember who we are, where we came from, and what we were entrusted with is to reclaim agency over our future. Reclaiming ancient wisdom is therefore an act of resistance against historical amnesia. It challenges narratives that portray humanity as inherently ignorant, violent, or disconnected from the divine. Instead, it suggests that humanity once knew itself as part of a greater order and may do so again. The ancient world did not see humanity as fallen beyond repair, but as temporarily diminished. Loss was not final. Remembrance was always possible. The gods withdrew not to abandon humanity, but to allow growth, responsibility, and choice. To reclaim ancient wisdom is not to escape modernity, but to mature within it. It is to carry forward the memory Egypt preserved, the questions Scripture encoded, and the warnings myth conveyed. In doing so, humanity may yet fulfill the role envisioned in the earliest traditions, not as subjects of distant gods, but as conscious participants in a living cosmos. In this light, the ancient past is not behind us. It is waiting to be remembered.